I'm sitting here because I don't know how much time I have left to say this. My name is Margaret. I'm 81 years old, and there are things I've carried my whole life that I never told anyone. Not my husband, not my children, not even the friends I thought knew me best. I used to think that made me strong, private, dignified even. Now, I'm not so sure. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, about all the things I kept to myself, the things I thought would protect me, or protect them, or keep everything smooth and normal. I don't know if I was right, but I know what it cost. I grew up in a house where you didn't talk about certain things. My mother had a way of changing the subject whenever something uncomfortable came up. My father would just leave the room. So I learned early that some things were better left unsaid. And I carried that with me, all the way through. When I was 23, I fell in love with someone before I met my husband. His name was Daniel. We spent one summer together, just one. And I knew, even then, that I loved him in a way I didn't understand yet. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet. It was easy. But my parents didn't approve. He didn't have the right background, the right prospects. And I didn't fight for him. I let him go. I never told anyone how much that hurt. Not even him. I married Robert 2 years later. He was kind, responsible, everything my parents wanted, and I told myself I'd made the right choice. But on my wedding day, I thought about Daniel, and I never told Robert that. Years passed. We had 3 children. I kept a clean house. I volunteered at the church. I smiled at the right times and said the right things. But there were moments when I felt like I was living someone else's life. And I never told anyone that either. When my daughter Emily was 16, she came to me one night. She sat on the edge of my bed, and I could tell she wanted to say something. She started to speak, then stopped. I waited, but I didn't ask. I thought if she really needed to tell me, she would. She didn't. She just said goodnight and went back to her room. I found out years later, after she'd moved across the country and barely called anymore, that she'd been struggling, really struggling, with things I didn't even know teenagers struggled with back then. And she'd wanted to tell me that night. But I didn't ask. I didn't make it safe enough. Because I had never learned how to talk about the hard things. I had never told anyone my hard things. So how could I expect her to tell me hers? I lost my best friend Carol when I was 53. Not to death, to silence. We'd known each other since we were girls. We raised our kids together. We had coffee every Thursday morning for 30 years. But one day, her husband left her, just packed up and moved in with someone from his office. And Carol was devastated. She called me that night, crying so hard I could barely understand her. I didn't know what to say. So I said something about how she'd be fine, how she was strong, how time heals everything. All the things you're supposed to say. But I never told her that I understood. I never told her that there had been a time, years earlier, when I thought Robert might leave me too. When I'd found something I wasn't supposed to find, and spent 6 months barely sleeping, wondering if my life was about to fall apart. I never told her I knew what that fear felt like, because I'd never told anyone. And so I couldn't give her what she actually needed, which was just to know she wasn't alone. She stopped calling after a while. We drifted, and I never got her back. Robert died 4 years ago. We'd been married for 52 years, and there were things I never told him. I never told him I resented him sometimes, for small things, stupid things. The way he'd come home and expect dinner on the table without ever asking if I'd had a hard day. The way he made decisions without asking me what I thought. I never told him because I thought that's just what marriage was. You didn't complain. You didn't make waves. But I also never told him how grateful I was, how safe he made me feel, even when I felt lost. How much I appreciated the way he'd bring me tea every morning without me asking. I never told him I was sorry for the times I was cold, for the times I pulled away because I didn't know how to let him in. I thought I had time. I thought we'd talk about it someday. But someday never came. And now he's gone. And I'm here with all these words I never said. My son Thomas hasn't spoken to me in over a year. We had an argument, a bad one. He said I never really listened to him, that I always had an opinion, but never asked what he actually wanted. And he was right. But instead of telling him that, I got defensive. I told him I'd done my best, that I'd sacrificed everything for him and his sisters. Which was true. But it wasn't what he needed to hear. He needed me to say I was sorry. He needed me to say I saw him. But I didn't know how. Because I'd spent my whole life not saying the hard things. And now I don't know if I'll ever get the chance. There's a woman at the care home where I go for physical therapy. Her name is June. She's about my age, maybe a little older. And she talks, all the time, about everything. About her regrets, her fears, the things she wishes she'd done differently. At first, I found it exhausting. I thought, why does she have to share all of that? Why can't she just keep it to herself, like the rest of us? But then one day I realized something. She wasn't lonely. People wanted to sit with her, to talk back. Because she let them in. And I never did. I have a journal I've kept for 40 years. It's full of things I never said out loud. Fears, doubts, resentments, longings. I wrote them all down thinking that was enough, that I didn't need to actually speak them. But writing them down didn't heal anything. It just kept them locked inside me. Last month, my daughter Emily visited. It was the first time in almost 2 years. We sat in my kitchen and drank tea and talked about nothing important. The weather, her job, the traffic on the way here. And I wanted so badly to tell her I was sorry. Sorry I didn't ask that night, when she was 16. Sorry I didn't know how to make her feel like she could tell me anything. Sorry I built walls instead of bridges. But I didn't, because I still don't know how. And she left. And I sat there thinking about all the years we've lost, because I never learned to say the things that mattered. I think about Daniel sometimes. I looked him up online a few years ago. He's still alive. He married someone else. They have grandchildren. And I wonder if he ever thinks about me. If he ever wanted to know why I just let him go without a fight. I'll never tell him. It's too late for that. But I wish I had, not because it would have changed anything, but because he deserved to know he mattered. I never told my mother I forgave her. She died when I was 68, and we'd spent most of my adult life in a polite, distant relationship. I blamed her for a long time, for showing me that feelings were something to be managed, not expressed. But I understand now that she was doing the best she could with what she'd been given. And I wish I'd told her that. I wish I'd told her I loved her in a way that felt real, not obligatory. But I didn't. And now she's gone too. I've lived 81 years, and I'm starting to see that the things I didn't say shaped my life just as much as the things I did. Maybe more. Every time I stayed quiet when I should have spoken. Every time I kept something to myself because I thought it would protect me or someone else. Every time I chose safety over honesty. It added up. And now I'm here, at the end, surrounded by all these unsaid things. I'm not telling you this because I think you should live differently. I don't know what you should do. I don't even know if I'm right about any of this. But I do know what it feels like to carry things alone for a lifetime. And I know what it feels like to realize, too late, that I didn't have to. There are 7 things I never told anyone. Not because they were secrets, exactly, but because I thought keeping them inside would keep me safe. I thought it would keep my life together. I thought it would protect the people I loved. But it didn't. It just made me smaller, and lonelier, and more afraid. I don't know if anyone will hear this. I don't know if it matters, but I'm saying it now because I'm running out of time to stay silent. And because maybe, somewhere, someone else is carrying something they don't have to carry alone. Maybe you are. I don't know what it is, but I know what it feels like. And I know that silence doesn't protect you the way you think it will. It just keeps you from being known. And being known is the only thing that ever really mattered. If you've stayed with me this long, thank you. I don't know what you'll do with this. Maybe nothing. Maybe something. But if there's something you've been holding on to, something you've never said out loud, I hope you find a way before it's too late.